Good morning, children. How are you all? So, here I am with the second video of chapter India after Independence. Children, in the previous video, we have discussed that what were the problems that India had to face just after independence. We know India was divided into India and Pakistan. So some around 8.5 million refugees has entered India. Now there was a problem of food, then their houses, then creating jobs for them. There was another problem of integration of the princely states. Some around 500 princely states were there in India at that time. So they had to convinced to join in with India. Third was so many people belonging to different backgrounds are living in India. So it is very difficult to frame rules in such a way that it did not hurt the sentiment of any social group. Next was the problem of economic development. We all know that the development of India at that time was very poor, so they had to plan what were the new development that has to be taken up. So basically they know that they have to focus on agriculture, isn't it? So in today's video we are going to discuss about the framing of the constitution, how our constitution was framed, what were the important features that were kept in mind while framing the constitution. Okay, so let's start.
A Constituent Assembly was elected in July 1946 to draft a constitution for India. Representatives from all over India, including women and leaders from different political parties, artists and intellectuals were elected to the Assembly. A drafting committee was set up under the chairmanship of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. After deliberations and discussions over 2 years, 11 months and 18 days, the Constitution was finalized and adopted on November 29, 1949. On January 26, 1950, India became a sovereign democratic republic. The new constitution granted universal adult franchise to the Indian citizen. All citizens of India above the age of 21 were allowed to vote in state and national elections. However, in other countries such as the United States of America and United Kingdom, the right to vote to all citizens was granted in stages and after a long struggle. The second important feature of the Indian Constitution was the provision of equality before law for all citizens, irrespective of caste, religion, gender, or class. Some religious parties wanted that the political system of India should be based on Hindu ideals and India should be declared as a Hindu state. They gave the example of Pakistan, a country created to explicitly further the interest of the Muslim community. Many nationalist leaders did not agree to this. They ensured that the independent India carries forward the principles that guided the national movement, which saw struggle and cooperation from all the sections of the society. In tune with these ideals, the Constitution of India emphasizes equal rights for its citizens irrespective of their religion and creed and prohibit any kind of religion-based discrimination. It grants equal opportunity to all its citizens in the matter of employment or appointments in government or private sector. All persons are equally entitled to the right to freely profess, practice, and propagate their religion and to establish their educational institutions. Another important feature of the Indian Constitution was that it offered special rights to the poor and the backward classes. Untouchability was abolished. The Constitution of India formally recognized the plight of those who had experienced caste-based discrimination for centuries and sought to uplift their overall condition. And an administrative term, scheduled caste, was coined to refer to these groups. In addition to the term scheduled tribe was also given to the indigenous people or Adivasis who were outside the caste-based society. Now let us discuss about the distribution of power between the center and the state. A major point that was debated in the Constituent Assembly was the powers of the central government versus those of the state government. Some members argued that the center's interests should be given more importance. They argued that a strong union government would be in a position to think and plan for the well-being of the country as a whole, while others felt that provincial government should be given more freedom and autonomy as every region had problems unique to that region. So, the Constitution sought a balanced approach to solve this issue. It adopted a threefold dimension of power between the center and the state on the basis of three legislative lists: union list, state list, and concurrent list. The union list consists of subjects like taxes, defense, foreign affairs, etc. The state list consists of subjects like agriculture, law and order, health, etc. And the concurrent list consists of subjects like education, river, forest area, agriculture, etc. Another major issue that was debated in the Constituent Assembly was the issue of national language. The two main fractions in the Assembly that debated over the national language were the representatives of Hindu-speaking areas, mostly from the north-central India, and the representatives of non-Hindi-speaking regions, particularly from the south. The Hindi-speaking representatives demanded that Hindi be declared the national language as it was spoken by more than 60% of the people in India. This suggestion, however, was not liked by the non-Hindi speaking fractions. They threatened to separate from India if Hindi was imposed on them. After 3 years of debate, the Assembly approved a compromise resolution in which Hindi was adopted as the official language of the Union, while English was to continue to be used for all official purposes. Another important issue that was needed to be addressed was the formation of Indian states. In 1920s, the member of the Indian National Congress had agreed on the linguistic reorganization of the Indian states as one of the party's political goals. But after independence, in the wake of the political division of the country, on the basis of communal and religious lines, the Congress-led government became concerned that the states formed solely on linguistic basis might be unsuitable and might even pose a risk to the national unity of the country. Congress leaders such as Jawaharlal Nehru and Vallabhbhai Patel were against the idea of forming states solely on the basis of language. Speakers of various regional languages such as Kannada, Marathi, Tamil, and Malayalam got disappointed when the Congress failed to address their issue of linguistic state. Soon, separatist movements started in separate corners of the nation, but the loudest protest came from Madras Presidency, where the Telugu-speaking population under the leadership of Potti Sriramalu demanded a separate state. After 58 days of fasting, Potti Sriramalu died in 1952. Immediately after his death, there were intense protests and in the end, the central government gave in. On October 1st, 1953, a separate state of Andhra came into being and was named Andhra Pradesh. This sparked off agitation all over the country, with other linguistic groups demanding separate statehoods. As a result of the demands for separate states from other linguistic communities, soon a state reorganization commission was set up which recommended the central government to form a number of different states in order to avoid situations such as Andhra separatist movement. Based on its recommendation, the states of Assam, Odisha, Tamil Nadu, Kerala and Karnataka were created. The large Hindi-speaking region of the north was also broken up into several states. Bombay Presidency was divided into Maharashtra and Gujarat in 1960. Punjab was divided into Punjab and Haryana in 1966. So children, this is all for today. We will discuss more about this chapter in the next video. Till then, goodbye.